Squadron Leader Tony Iveson, DFC AE, was an RAF pilot, veteran of World War II and one of the few. As in the much repeated phrase of Winston Churchill, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few, and refers to the airmen of the RAF who fought the Battle of Britain in the Second World War. Now aged 92, former Squadron Leader Tony Iveson is still enjoying an active life and gives an incredible amount of his time giving talks about his experiences in Bomber Command during World War II.
But I think certainly people should remember what my generation, millions of us had to do in 1940. We had to learn war.
Yeah.
We found out freedom was not for free. We had to fight for it, to preserve it. And we set up the world as it's been.
At the age of 21, Tony signed up for the RAF, and a year later, war broke out.
The Battle of Britain ran from July to October. That's the official sort of start and finish. Yeah. I suppose I was in fire command for about 7 months, is it?
Okay.
6, 7 months.
Did you ever shoot any planes down?
No, I can't say I shot down any individual. I had a share in one or two.
Okay.
I wasn't a very good fighter pilot, I'm afraid. New sergeants on the squadron were given the job of what was called Sqn Ldr, because we flew in 4 Vics of 3.
Yeah.
Which they soon found out was a stupid formation, and started flying in figure 4s and figure 2s. And Sqn Ldr was number 3 of yellow section, and we had to weave behind and keep an eye open for anybody coming down on us. And usually it was a pretty busy time, sort of changing direction and weaving and looking and screwing. And
yeah.
Quite often were the oldest aircraft in the squadron, which meant you fell behind. And no, I knew some of the aces, like Stanford Tuck, and I met Sailor Milan, and I saw Barbara a couple of times. But one of my great friends is Geoffrey Wenham, who wrote a book called First Light. If you want to read about the Battle of Britain, buy that book, which he wrote when he was about 19 on the squadron. No, I sort of made up the numbers. I feel more confident about my contribution in Bomber Command.
Serving as a fighter pilot flying Spitfires, Tony fought in the Battle of Britain.
Behind the Junkers, knocked my aeroplane about a bit, damaged the engine badly, so that he disappeared because I was just about to open fire. And I had to try to make my way back to England, but the aeroplane was obviously not going to make it. It was losing height steadily, and fortunately I saw a convoy ahead of me and was able to splash it down not far away. And I was about 45 minutes in the sea before they managed to get to me.
Unusually for a fighter pilot, he then went on to join Bomber Command and the famous Dambusters Squadron.
Well, I was a sergeant pilot in those days, and for some strange reason I was posted to Central Flying School in 1941,
yeah.
where they made me a flying instructor. And from there they sent me out to Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe,
yeah. Because
there was a big, what they called the Commonwealth Air Training Plan, where pilots and navigators were sent from this country to train in Canada and United States, and South Africa and Rhodesia, where the weather was better, there was no interference from enemy activity, and Britain was just becoming an aircraft carrier,
yeah.
crowded with airplanes. So I was part of that, and I had 2 years instructing on Tiger Moths and Harvards and Oxfords in Rhodesia. And then I was posted home, and I was posted to Bomber Command, even though I made a protest that I wanted to go back to Fighter Command.
Yeah.
I was told that Bomber Command was the command taking the war to the enemy then, and I was part of it.
How many sorties did you fly altogether with Bomber Command?
Well, I was posted to 617 Squadron,
Yeah.
the Dambuster Squadron, and we used to operate by ourselves, day and night. I suppose I did about 25 or so with 617.
One of the key missions Tony was involved in was the sinking of the German battleship Tirpitz.
Tirpitz was the biggest battleship in the Western Hemisphere at that time,
Yeah.
56,000 tons. It was 900 feet long. It had a tremendous armament with 8 15-inch guns and many others. It had a crew of 2,400, a range of 9,000 miles, and could cruise at well over 35 miles an hour. And it was a great menace to the convoys crossing the Atlantic, bringing troops and weapons and food and fuel, and also to the Russian convoys going around North Cape, northernmost point of Europe, to Russia. So despite the fact she was only one ship, she kept 2 or 3 of our battleships in Scapa Flow in case she came out into the Atlantic, and the American ships were tied up too. She was attacked 33 times. And there were 2 task forces by the Navy in the summer of 1944, which, although they found her and hit her, they had little bombs, and so they decided what was needed was a giant bomb, and we were the only squadron to have the 5-ton tall boy.
Yeah.
So we were given the job in September 1944. And for the first attack, because she was out of range from even the north of Scotland, sitting in Alta Fjord by North Cape, which is the most northern point of Europe, we had to fly to Russia and do the first trip from there.
Yeah.
She was sitting in a very deep field with under cliffs and torpedo nets around her, and they had smoke generators in the mountains which just filled the field with smoke. So that beat us the first time. When the Russians attacked through northern Norway, the Germans moved her to Tromsø on the northwest coast of Norway, still in the Arctic Circle. And we had modifications to our Lancasters with more powerful engines, and they stripped out the mid-upper turret and the flare chute and the front guns and the armour plating, particularly that piece behind me. And so we tried in October, we were beaten by the weather, and we tried again in November. We went off again in November, and it was an absolutely beautiful day. We flew through the night to a rendezvous over a lake in Sweden, and then north to Tromsø. The weather was perfect, blue sky, no clouds, and no smoke screen. But the Germans had moved a fighter squadron to a place called Bardufoss, which is about 40 miles from Tromsø. So we were a bit concerned about that. But we got to Tromsø, and in the first 90 seconds, 9 tall boys, 9 5-ton boys went down, 2 direct hits, 3 were near misses, and that was the end of Tirpitz. They lost nearly 1,000 men, and that finished the war in the Arctic. So our battleships could leave and go to the Pacific, and so could the Americans.